All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Ask for any declarations of conflict of interest. None. Notice of public hearing, application for minor variance. AJ Stratman Family Limited. Located at 7318 Zion Line. Purpose of application to construct a manure pad which has runoff into an existing circular pit. The proposed manure pad necessitates variances related to the regulations associated with MDS separation calculations, but more specifically, the proposed manure pad would result in a setback to the nearest lot line of 30 feet, 9.1 meters. This does not meet the required setback to the nearest lot line of 89 feet or 27 meters as minimum distance separation calculation. Take notice that an application on the above file will be heard by the Committee of Adjustment on October 3rd, 2023 at 4 p.m. at Warwick Township Municipal Office, 5280 Nauvoo Road. Any persons may attend this public hearing and or make written or oral representation either in support or in opposition to the proposed minor variance. The meeting will also be live streamed on the Township YouTube channel. It's Heather to read the dates and places and notice of public meeting.
The notices were sent by regular mail on September 20th, 2023.
Ask Heather to read letter submissions supporting or opposing the application.
No additional comments have been received since the previous meeting.
Thank you, Heather. I'll now ask Johan to explain the planner's report.
To the chair. Good afternoon, respected committee members, the viewing public, and the respected applicant. On direction from the committee, planning was asked to calculate whether a house can be built on the adjacent property directly east of the applicant's property. We have created a supplementary report as a result, resulting in 4 maps. There was a presentation as well. So the 4 maps go over 2 major scenarios. One scenario is a 300-meter MDS requirement. So that 300-meter comes from what is required from the Warwick zoning bylaw. So that's the minimum in the zoning bylaw. And the second scenario is I did a rough MDS1 calculation, and that amounted to a 353 meter required MDS. So these 2 scenarios are further split into 2 more scenarios. That is, one is what is proposed. So the proposed manure pad with a 30-foot setback, and then what MDS requires. So what would this whole scenario look like if the manure pad is moved to what MDS requires of 89 feet? So going over this first map, is that the whole map? Yeah. So if you can look at the map, the purple circle is the 300 meters required MDS from the proposed manure pad. And this map shows the proposed 30-foot. What's seen in red is the amount of area in which someone can actually build a residence. So that area is minusing that purple circle, minusing the woodlot at the back. So there's an environmental protection zone, a woodlot in the back, and minusing the required zoning setback. So that's 3 meters on the side, 20 meters from the front lot, and 7 meters from the back. So this results, can you zoom in a bit? So that they can see? So I believe that's, if I can read this right, yep, the 13.9 acres for this scenario, 13.9 acres.
The red zone.
No, the red zone.
Yeah, red zone.
Yeah.
So can I interrupt for a minute?
Sure.
Okay,
Can you
So-
use your mic, John? Sorry.
yeah. I would like to see a circle drawn from the Kingma Dairy Farm, because then 300 meters, it looks to me like there's no place anywhere near the front of the property to build a house. Like, you understand what I mean? The Kingma Dairy Farm is right there.
Mhm.
I was hoping there'd be a circle drawn, but just looking at it, I don't think there's gonna be any red area left except right at the back of the property. If we, like, is that not important to draw a circle from the Kingma Dairy Farm at 300 meters also?
So we don't know how much is going to be from there. 300 meters will be the minimum from the zoning bylaw, but from the calculation, which is the second scenario, I wouldn't know what that is without the calculation. I didn't get the information
No,
on that farm.
I guess
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, Johan, I don't need a calculation to look at that and know that
Sure.
it's gonna go well over the red zone where you could potentially build a house. It's gonna pretty well eliminate the entire red zone at the front of the property. And so I don't know this, but the idea that you would build a house at the back of a farm that's only accessible from Zion Line does not make sense to me. Like, are you saying that
So
someone could build a house? on
I've
the
just made a
back of the
rough
property?
measurement. I've just made a rough measurement. The 300 meters would come around here. So you would still have quite a bit of land, but the way it goes.
But at the very back of the farm,
Yep, so as when it comes to MDS is if people can still, build a house, they can build a house, at least from a planning perspective. It's not
Okay.
up to us to decide how they want to build a house.
okay.
Um,
Have you ever seen someone build the house at the back of a farm and have
It's-
a 700-foot laneway?
It's not up to me to make that.
No, okay.
Yeah,
Regardless, whether he builds that pad there or not, there's already a manure pit and whatnot. So you're saying you have to take 300 meters to build a house anyway, regardless, you have to stay 300 meters away from what's existing.
Mhm.
So theoretically, the only way you can ever build a house there is to get a minor variance.
sorry, can you repeat that?
Repeat it, Fred, sorry, can you come up to one of the microphones?
Actually-
Not mine, can't hear.
Actually, can I go through my whole presentation and we can go
Let,
to the-
let Johan finish his presentation and we can ask him questions.
All right, if you can go to the next map. So this is the 300 meters if the pad actually met MDS. So the amount of area left is 15.7 acres. So that's that's a difference between the two scenarios of 1.8 acres. Then we can go to the next map. So this was with a rough MDS1 calculation. And it's more stricter. As a result, there's less area left over. So it would be 8.06 acres as proposed. And then as we go to the next one, there's 8.88 acres if it met the MDS, and this is a difference of almost an acre. I think it's 0.8 or 0.9 acres. And with that, I conclude the presentation. We can go back to the questions.
Okay, thanks, Johan.
You're welcome.
I'll let John speak now and then we'll have a discussion after that.
So just touching on what John Ruth had mentioned, I don't want to involve Kingma Dairy, but there is a dairy operation there. And if you go back to the satellite slide, are you able to do that? Picture. So that is an old satellite picture and you don't see the existing manure storage on Kingma's. Yes, so the existing one is down, but right in the middle of the barn, but right beside, just to the right of the barn, yes. And then last year he built a new dairy facility and put a bigger manure storage straight in the back. No, it's actually right behind the barn. I would go over, it's pretty much right even. You'll see in the picture that I handed out. The other thing with building at the very back, where you would maybe build a cabin or something, but that's all right of way. There's a oil pipeline, Imperial Oil Pipeline. And it runs on an angle. If you look in the blue, it's my brother's property there, the corner bush, I'll get up and point. Way that runs on an angle like so. Okay, across all the way to Toronto.
If I may speak. Yeah. To the chair, those are really good concerns that I actually brought up. So I was looking from the existing mapping, 300 meters comes around here. 350 comes around here, there's still some space left over. But if it's the case that there is a bit here, it would actually increase. So that is actually a very reasonable thing to actually bring up.
Chairman John, I would like to make a motion to maybe speed this process up a little bit. I have typed one up. And I have also typed up reasons for a decision if we get a seconder and vote on it. I'd like to pass this around and make the motion at this time. Okay,
That's fine.
I think there should be enough copies for everyone.
I just have a quick question for Johan there. We're doing this. So you don't have an up-to-date map? Like Lambton County doesn't use up-to-date maps?
To the chair, there's always a delay for us when it comes to mapping. So that's why we do site visits. Yeah, we weren't a part of the site visit. We wanted to be a part of the site visit. We weren't.
Property, you were at the property and took pictures, and I was explaining to you at that point why, my reasons why it couldn't be moved. You will not build a house where you're proposing to build a manure pad.
To the chair, when I went for your the initial site visit, that site visit wasn't to see all of this right now. It was the initial site visit to create my initial report. So it's what's existing right there, what's the pad. I didn't actually look at the other property. It was just a picture to the other side. I didn't actually go there to see the existing conditions. So I didn't know that there was an existing circular pit there. You did, to your benefit, you did ask that I come for a site visit this week, but this week I'm actually off from work and I wasn't able to attend that.
Chairman John, I'll read this motion. Excuse me, sorry. In regards to the minor variance application A-03-23 from A and J Stratman and Family Limited, I would like to make a motion that we grant consent to this application for the construction of a cement pad with a setback of 9.1 meters from the east lot line.
I think Ken wanted to speak for a moment. Ken, were you wanting to say
Sorry,
something?
Mr. Chair. I'm just dialing in here, so I don't know if you can hear me too well. Just wanted to address a question that came up about why we don't have updated maps. The county typically does update our aerial maps roughly every 3 to 5 years, but it is quite an expense and quite a piece of work to actually do. So we don't do it every year. We're not. We don't have the resources like a major municipality does to do that, but every 3 to 5 years is typically how often we update them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. So John's read a motion. Is there a seconder to that motion?
I will second it.
Any discussion on the motion? I guess I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion presented, please raise your hand. Motion carried. Fred, you don't get to vote. Well, I guess,
John, I wanted to ask if Johan could read the reasons for the decision, or we could read it right now into the minutes. I just want to make sure that you feel that our reasons for this decision are valid.
All right, sure, I can do that through the chair. Many of the existing structures on this farm, including a bunker for dry manure, a 50-foot diameter liquid pit, and cement cattle yards, are located closer to the east lot line than the proposed new cement storage pad. Therefore, any application for a residential building that could be considered on the adjacent farm to the east would already be impacted by these existing structures. The addition of this pad, which will be set back further away from the existing farm buildings, should have less impact on any proposed residential building application in the future. The neighboring farm east of the Stratman farm is a large dairy operation, which also appears that it would impact any residential building on the farm immediately east of the proposed minor variance. At this time, it would seem impractical for anyone to consider building a home between these two farms. The present operator of this farming operation appears to be doing an excellent job of handling this manure storage operation. The construction of this pad will certainly be a benefit to the environment, as its construction will mitigate any potential runoff. Over the past several years, rules have tightened up considerably with regards to farm operations and residential construction. However, Stratman Operations appears to have always complied with the existing guidelines for a livestock operation and manure storage. Some of the existing structures on the farm are over 30 years old, but still usable and seem to be in good condition. During the construction of the present manure holding structures, the owners have said they coordinated the existing storage through the environmental farm plan, met with Lambton County building codes of the time, and they met best farm management practices. The broiler manure stored on this farm is utilized under the neighbor's nutrient management strategy. Moving the proposed pad to the north does not seem like an environmentally responsible proposition, since there is a municipal drain directly to the north of the proposed pad. Locating this proposed pad this close to the lot line is certainly not ideal. However, this ongoing farm operation appears to have always lived by the rules of the municipality, and they now find themselves in a difficult position as they seek to expand their storage. During a site visit, it was obvious that locating this pad elsewhere would be cost prohibitive and impractical. Can I speak to this? So regarding the beginning, the first reason that you have existing structures that are actually closer to the lot line, MDS is a cumulative calculation. So it's not a matter of how much stuff is close. It's if you're expanding, if you have something new, it would be a cumulative impact. There would be more smell because there's more things there. So I don't quite agree with this reason. But I think a lot of excellent reasons were brought up today. The dairy, the new manure pit from the dairy farm, the pipeline that you mentioned, that would actually go through that property as well, right? So that would actually limit construction of a house there as well. So these are all excellent reasons to.
Mr. Chair, could I jump in here again? Sorry, just to maybe assist. That's okay.
barely hear you, Ken.
Yeah, sorry, I'm parked and I don't know where I am, and I am not near a cell tower. So can you hear me okay?
Barely.
Okay, sorry, is this any better?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to maybe jump in here to make things a bit easier for the committee. So the reasons that you've given essentially are the committee's reasons, obviously. Staff has given their reasons in the report. So if an appeal was to be received, because the ministry is one of the bodies that could potentially appeal whether they were involved or not, we have to represent the opinion we've given. So I think it would be best to leave it at this is the opinion that the committee has given and its reasons for its decision, and they stand as the committee's rationale.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Are there any other questions from anyone? Otherwise, I will.
I just want to comment, Johan. One of the things that's not on here that I think you'll agree is very important is the large manure pit that is not on your map. And as far as our two of them, as far as our reasons for the decision, I think that would be an important addition if it was ever to be appealed. I don't know what the appeal process is. Do you know what the appeal process is?
Mr. Chair, the appeal process for a minor variance is limited, so neighbors cannot appeal. But the ministry and the minister can always appeal. There's limited agencies that could appeal as well. And we do know that the ministry occasionally monitors activity going on. This is what I was told at a recent conference. So you never know what the ministry is keeping an eye on. But generally neighbors cannot appeal your decision.
John?
So like John Ruth mentioned, will those MDS numbers from the Kingma operation be included in this report that the ministry would supposedly be reviewing?
So the ministry is not reviewing anything.
Well, whatever
The ministry keeps
organization
an
that
eye-
could appeal.
Well, they would have to file an appeal with the Ontario Land Tribunal and give their reasons as to why they would appeal. And I couldn't speak for an agency that might do so.
So what information are they basing an appeal on? Is it based on the
Well,
county?
It would be based on whatever decision that the committee has made and the rationale that was provided.
Okay, so
They would
therefore,
have to-
the reasons that John Ruth had Johan read, that would be included then. The
Correct.
reasons for their decision. Okay, thank you.
Correct. But what also would be included would be the staff reports as well.
John?
Okay, Ken, I just want to make sure that if this somehow is appealed, that the people doing the appealing realize what John Stratman has pointed out, and that is that there's a huge manure pit on the Kingma property that would definitely negatively impact a residential structure. And there's also an oil pipeline right of way through the property. Those are two pretty important pieces of the puzzle that might sway them to not appeal. So I guess my question is, should we add that to our reasons for decision, or are we good the way we are?
Through the chair, they're your reasons. So if you feel that it's worth pointing that out, I would suggest adding them. And just to be clear, I'm not suggesting that someone's going to appeal. We just found out recently, though, that the ministry is just randomly keeping an eye on things. So, they are the keepers of the MDS. So whether they would appeal or not, once the notice of a decision has been sent out, the 20 days will determine whether someone appeals or not.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Do you want that added into the minutes, Sean?
I think we definitely want the two things that John Stratman has brought forward at this meeting. I think they're more important than anything else. It's in the reason for decision. And I would not want to be the person from the Ministry of Environment to come and appeal it and find out these two pieces of information after. So I think we definitely need to try to add that in. We didn't vote on it. I don't know whether we have to re-vote if we put this in. I guess we do, right? But anyway,
Shouldn't it be put in there too, that regardless.
If I could make a suggestion, Mr. Chair, if there's unanimous consent of the committee that you want to put that in, then I don't think you need a vote, but I defer to Heather's advice. But generally speaking, if I couldn't, since I'm calling in, I can't see what the vote on the motion was. But if the vote was obviously a majority, I don't know if it was unanimous. But if it was unanimous, then you have unanimous consent of the committee with the reasons. I would think that you would have unanimous consent to make that change as well. But if Heather feels that a motion is needed, I will defer to her.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Fred, you had a comment?
Yeah, my question is, right now, regardless, if somebody wants, besides the minor variance, regardless if somebody wants to build a house on the property next door, they still have to get a minor variance from the township and the county, right?
And a severance.
And,
And a severance.
okay, and the severance for that property. So you're just basing it on because it's a little bit too close to the property line, or are you taking that housing fact into consideration at all? Because there, you let other places build houses closer to buildings. And yeah. So I just wondered, you talk about nobody can build a house there. But you still can if you wanted to, if you went through the paperwork to get the minor variance and the severance.
It may or not be approved as such
Yeah.
at the time.
No, but regardless whether this new storage facility is there or isn't.
Johan?
To the chair, to answer that, what would happen is if somebody wanted to put a house there, they would have to contact building services, building permits. As part of that permitting process, we would do a proper MDS. I just did a rough calculation here, but that's where the formal MDS calculation would take place. And they would consider all this. As John mentioned, it would require a severance as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. As there are no further questions, the committee hereby closes this portion of the meeting. Notice of the decision will be mailed out within 10 days from the date of the committee's decision. The appeal period is 20 days after the date the decision is mailed. After that date, if there are no appeals filed, when the application becomes final and the property owner will be sent and noticed. Thanks everyone for attending. Now, we have a motion on the floor. And I want to make sure something was added. I want to make sure the seconder is okay with the addition to the motion.
I am okay with that for sure.
Therefore, I'll call the question again. Everybody in favor of this motion? Motion carried. Thanks, everybody, for coming.